Yeah. So guys, can you see my screen? My voice is audible. Everyone is good.
Yes, Vikas.
Yes, Vikas.
Okay. So in yesterday class we have seen the requirement. So up to which person we have covered? We have covered the create the employee data, right? We have seen create the employee data, and then what was that? Let me create post get query param up to we have discussed, right? So using the id and using get all data, and after that we were discussing about the get the data using the query param. Okay, so let's discuss one more time query param. After that we can move to the update method, the put and patch. Okay, after that we will move to the another requirement. Okay, is that fine guys?
Yeah, okay, Vikas.
Okay, so let's discuss about the query param. Okay, so here you can see we have the another requirement. In the another requirement that they have implemented the get method. The get method, inside the get method they have added where it is the get method, the query param. Yeah, here you can see. So this is one requirement, right, where we have to use the get method and the employee is the resource, and this particular content type, and this is the miming type, the miming type which we have discussed yesterday. Okay, which we have to pass as per the requirement. So you don't have to worry about which content type you have to pass it here, right? So it everything will provided by the client actually in the requirement sheet. Okay, so here guys you can use. So in the requirement sheet, let me last time call everyone. Just give me a second. Okay, so here you can see we have to use the content type, right, and the property name, right? In the property name you can see the first name, email id, phone number. Using that you can filter out your data. Okay, so yesterday we have created one query param, discard all the changes. Here you can see get employee using the query param, right? So let me add the URL here. And before that, what we have to do, we are using our local server, right? So we have to also start your, what you have to do, you have to start your local server, right? So that it will, get up. So you can use that server. So what is the command? I think the command is, let me check the command. Yeah, so this command you have to use to start your server, right? So let me copy and we'll go here and right. So you can see server get started, right? Give me a second. Yeah, so server get started. Now you can use this particular service to do the CRUD operation, right? So as per the requirement, where is the requirement? We have to use the query param, right? So what is the host URL? So this is your host URL, right? So you can copy this host URL. Let me copy and pass it here, right? So as part of this requirement, you don't have to pass the, here you can see you don't have to pass any id and all the thing, right? So you have passed the host URL and the resource, right? Now, what is requirement says content type is application JSON. So you will go to the header section, and here you can type content type as a application JSON, right? Now, the another thing is you have to add the parameter. Inside the parameter you can see the property name and the string value and the query param. If it is asking the query param, so where you have to add inside the param section, right? Here you can add this particular, filter out the result based on this particular property, right? So as right, so you can copy the property and pass it here, right? So first let me create the data. So data get created. Let's suppose I want to filter out the data. First name is Rahul test, right? Here you can see it gets changes in the URL. Here you can see the question mark, the key and the value, right? If I search, if I send, it connect with the server and it will give you all the result which belongs, whoever the person first name is Rahul test. So it could be a multiple, right? It could be a multiple. So that's why it is an array. Here you can see the response is the array object. Here you can see the array object it is, right? And inside that you can see we have the multiple objects are there with the first name Rahul test. Here you can see the three objects are there, right? So if you want to apply the other the filtration, let's suppose the email ID or last name, right? You can put it here and you can apply the query param here, right? Let's suppose I want to filter out the Rahul test, right? So if I will use the email as a Rahul test and try to connect with the server, you can see the only one result will get displayed or multiple. Let me check. Multiple, three person having the same name and the same email ID, right? So you will get the three person here, right? And here you can see if you're adding the multiple query param, so using the AND operator, it will get appended here. Similarly, you can add the other one also. If anyone get unmatched, let's suppose I am passing the invalid email ID, right? If I try to connect with the server, here you can see it is the blank response, because here it follow the AND operator. Both the condition will get satisfied. After then it will return the error message, right? Now you have the question, sir, that what are the things we can display in the create call, like we have the multiple keys here, right? First name, last name, prefix, birth, surname, email, smoker, and date of birth. Can we add all the key as a query param here? So you might have this question in your mind. Let's suppose I want to can I add the smoker here as a query param, and I search, right? So yes you can, but if in the requirement, if they are not mentioned that using this smoker or some other property you can filter out the data, then you can't use that one. If you try to do, you will get the error message. You will get the error message if you try to do. Okay, so as part of the requirement, the client, in the document they will mention which key you have to use to filter out the result. If anything is not mentioned here, but you are passing in the request or you are getting in the response and you are thinking that we can filter out that detail based on that. If let's suppose you pass here, like let's suppose I'm passing, let's suppose nationality, right? Nationality, right? I'm giving the nationality here and giving the nationality here, right? And giving the I and D, right? So let's suppose this nationality is not mentioned as per the requirement here, but what you are doing here, you are trying to fetch the data because you are the tester. So you always try to break the application, right? That I can understand. So let's suppose only first name and email ID is mentioned as part of your requirement as a query param which you can apply. But what you are trying to do, you have some another property as well, right? So as a tester, what you can do, you can copy some other property which is not part of your requirement, and you will paste it here and try to connect with the server, right? So generally, in ideal case, as per the requirement, it is not part of your requirement. So it should not be work. It should return the error message based on whatever the developer had set the error message. So you will get the in something like not found or invalid query param, whatever the message they have set, you will get the error message. Let's suppose you are getting the response base, you passing the nationality here and you are passing the value and you are also getting the response, right? So you will think that it is working for the nationality, but it is not like that. If nationality is mentioned in the requirement here, that using the nationality you can also filter out the detail, then it is right, then it is a functionality, yeah, it is correct, no issue. But if this thing is not mentioned in your requirement sheet, so first you have to confirm with the developer and the client that the if I'm passing the nationality or some other property which is not part of the requirement here, which is not mentioned in the requirement sheet, and you are getting the data based on that particular keys and the value, right? So tell me, is this you have missed anything in the requirement or it is incomplete? So first you have to confirm, no, the things which we have mentioned in the requirement, we can filter out the data only this particular property. Apart from that, we can't filter out the data using the other property. Okay, so that means this is not part of your requirement and you are getting the error message, then it is considered as a bug. Because I know this, you have did the correct like nationality and nationality, based on that you are also getting the response, but sir, it is not part of your requirement, right? If it is not part of your requirement, so you don't have to implement this thing. Agree or not, guys?
Yes, because agree.
Right? So the things which are part of the requirement, that thing you have to test, because it is not our project, not our product application, right? So the client is the owner. Whatever the client will ask, I will only pass the suggestion. It depends on them that what he want to implement, right? So like that, you can map the query param and you can test with the single values and the multiples
Because one
values.
question, if that's what, if
Yeah.
that we are able to search with nationality, right? So we are able to search and we're able to see the data. That means it should not come. It should be a bug or how it is that one, or it may be old record.
If it is, let's suppose here I am mentioning as part of the requirement nationality here, right? I am passing the nationality. So guys, you can mute. So that means you can use the nationality property here, and based on this particular key, you can filter out the data that it say, that requirement say, right? Let's suppose then it is a functionality, then no issue. You can happily go with that, right? But let's suppose the nationality is not part of your requirement, right? But you are able to search by passing this particular key,
Yes.
right? So and you are getting the result, then it is considered as a bug,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because if you are not you are restricting to filter out the data based on the nationality, right? So there is chances like you don't want to apply this filter, right? So if you are getting the result, then it is considered as a bug because this is not part of your requirement. Similarly, for the other properties also, not only about the nationality, right? If anything mentioned in the requirement, then it is okay, then we can go with that. If it is not, then if you are getting the response, then it is a bug. Clear, sir?
But
Yeah, but
but
the
sir,
thing is that sometimes we'll be going for the negative scenarios also, right? At that
Yeah.
time, it will not work out. How it is this one?
Come again, sir.
No, sometimes this is a positive scenario only what they've given requirement and we'll be testing that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Sometimes
things
as
which
you
we
said, the
have
tester
written
will go for
here,
the
it,
negative.
it is the positive, right? As a negative, what you are doing here, you can apply, you can go against the requirement. That is the negative scenario, right?
Yeah.
So you can test with the, the things which are not mentioned and try to break the things. If you are getting the response, then you can discuss with the client and with the BA person, developer, that you can't directly log the bug, right? So
Okay.
you can discuss with your client, and because everything in the IT sector is the coordination, right? So if you directly log the bug, and let's suppose it is the by the BA person, they forget to mention. So there is then he will think that without discussing the thing, you directly log the bug. At least discuss with me if you have any queries or issue, why you have this type of things will comes out. Then between you and the tester, they are making the distance from you, right? So why should we do, right, that type of the problem, right? So it's
Yeah.
better, if anything you have the confusion, directly discuss with the BA person or the developer, right? It will take couple of minutes, right? So better to clear the thing. If it is asking that, yeah, it is not part of your requirement, because the things which I have mentioned, like first name, email ID, phone number, we have to test only for that, not it will work for the other. Then you can go and lock the bug.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, yeah,
but
one person
sir,
having.
I have one more query. So sometimes when you say that extra parameters or extra values are displayed for extra fields, but the developer discussed that no, that can be handled by front end, or we are sending everything, let the front end hide it.
Mhm.
So is that a bug?
What happened? What happened? Uh, Sometime, guys, you can mute. Sometime what happened in the real time, let's suppose we pass the this particular keys and the value, let's suppose 15 to 20, right? We have keys and the value, but when we connect with the server, we get some additional keys and the value, some additional keys and the value. So if you are getting some additional key, so the client will provide you the sample of response file, or it could added in the requirement that when you connect with the server, you will get this additional thing, right? Let's suppose you are getting the phone number and the other things as a additional. So it should be mentioned in your requirement in the sample file that these things are coming as an additional. Then you have to also verify that thing, right? Sometime it require, they are server will return the some additional thing which are required to display in the front end side as a mapping perspective. So that thing we have to make it clear with the developer and the client that I have not passed this particular property in my payload, in my request, but in the response, when I get the response by the server, I'm getting some this additional thing. So tell me, what is the, where the issue is, right? It is part of the requirement or it is a bug. So you have to discuss that thing with the, the client and the developer, actually, with the BA person. Okay, so you have to clarify that thing, sir, because every project to project, right, every project having the different requirement, right? You can't say they every project having the same strategy and same requirement, the same person, same, and follow the same format, correct? Right. So that thing you have to first clear. If you have any doubt and that is not mentioned in your requirement, you can discuss that thing with your client or BA person. First, we can discuss with the developer, and then we can discuss with the BA person, and then we are going to the client, right? If you not get the answer from these two person, correct?
Okay, sir. Because I thought if it is directly bug, then sometime it is not, because the agreement is there are other fields in front end that they have to display because they are using the same API,
Mhm.
but they are using for different purposes. They cannot create multiple APIs, or they say
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I yeah, understand. So in that case, you have to, understand the requirement, what the requirement is. If it is, you are passing like 4 property in the payload and you are getting some additional property in the response, that you have to understand why the additional property I'm getting from the server, where it is mapping in the front end side, in which section it is mapping. So you have to read the requirement carefully. If you not get your answer there, right, then check the, the most of the time the client will provide you the sample response, which we have seen in the here you can also see, when you get the response, you can see there is the sample response. Every time the client will try to give you the sample response, so you can map this thing with this response, is that additional things are there or not, right? So if the additional things are there, so try to understand what value it's come out. It is like always static value. Let's suppose the key is there, right? So let's suppose you get the key, but how these values are coming from the server, right? So that you have to understand, right? So if you have anything, you can directly, first read the requirement, clarify the requirement. If it is not get clear, then you have to discuss with the developer, because they implement the thing, so they they also know the thing better, right? So after that, if you not get the answer, then you can connect with the BA person. So let's suppose okay, we get some extra property, right? But what happened, you think that okay, the server will return this thing, ignore, right? Or this thing is necessary in the front end. So it might be, let's suppose if your assumption was wrong, then what will happen? So it is a major, fault, right? So it's better to connect with the, the concerned person and clarify the things. Clear, sir?
Clear, sir, clear. Thank you.
Because in the IT sector, if the, anything is come up, then they will claim you directly, and they will, if you have did or not, then all the things will comes up to you.
So
Okay.
the continues to that question. Okay,
Yeah.
front end means back end. How it is happens to this one? Because regarding API testing, I'm asking this one. Can you
Come
explain?
again, sir. Come again.
No, this question actually I know that front end and back end. Okay,
Mhm.
the thing is that now the API I don't know. So what he asked the question? Can you show once practically this one? Front end he told right how it will be there.
Okay, what happened? Let's suppose we are. So, okay. So, I have one. Let me check. I have one. Okay. Let's suppose we have this particular application. Okay. So here, this particular application is built in REST API. They are using the REST API concept, right? This particular application where you can book the like fish, dogs, reptiles, cats, and the birds, right? If you click on the fish item, you will get the different product ID and the name of the fish. Like this is the product ID: angelfish, tiger shark, koi, goldfish, right? If you click on the any of the product, you will get the items ID, right? The large angelfish, the small angelfish, and the price, right? If you click on the any items, you will get the overview page and add to cart. Let's suppose add to cart. This is the large fish and the saltwater fish from Australia, and the $60 is the price. Okay. So when you click on here, you can go to the cart page where you can increase the quantity, right? And you can also remove and update and proceed to checkout page. Okay. So let's suppose this application, the users is using. Okay. Same thing, in the backend. In the backend, the REST API team we have, the web service team we have, they are also doing the testing data related stuff. Okay, so let's try to understand how these things are happening there. uh, Let me show you. Where is the, yeah, here. Let me go to the dashboard page here. Okay, and in the collection, let me create one folder here. In the collection, let me create one folder, add folder, and give some name here, edit. Let me edit the folder name. Let's suppose this is Jetpat store, where we are booking the pet animal. Okay, so this is this particular folder I have created for this particular uh, application. Okay, so this is the front end team. Let's suppose Mahesh is working in the front end side. Mahesh is working in the front end side, so he know what are the testing you have to apply, like click on the face, click on the sign in, book the sign in, go back, move forward, and remove the product. Like that they will do the testing, right? Similarly, let's suppose Vijay is working in the backend project on the same REST API project. Same, whatever the web application the Mahesh is working, right? We have the separate team of the REST API, right? And the Vijay is working on the REST API project, right? So let me, for the Mahesh, it is clear, right? The UI side is clear.
Is clear.
Clear?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now let's discuss about the Visa, like how the Visa is working in the backend side. Okay, so like that they will get the requirement by the client for the REST service, right? Like that. Okay, so let's try to convert this thing in the backend project, the front end project in the backend. So let me inspect this element. Let me inspect this element. So I clicking on the, let's suppose I go to the, this is the home page URL. Agree? This is the dashboard page, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if I click on dashboard, guys, you can mute. If I click on this particular home page, right here, you can see the catalog. This locks, in the network section. If Mahesh is clicking on the this Jetpat store in the backend, it's calling to this particular service, right? So in the Mahesh, what in the on this another side, the Mahesh is working in the backend. Sorry, Vijay, right? So they have the the request for the home page, like that. So here you can see the home page, right? So if I here you can see, if Mahesh will click on home page, you can see it here 200, and he is also getting the response, right? And here you can see, if you go to the response, here you can see W3C 199 and check is the same response or not. Here you can see, right? And here you can see href css jetpat store css. If you go here, you can see, right? So Mahesh is doing the front end testing and Vijay is doing the back end testing. Here it display in the HTML and XML response. If you go to the header, you can see it is in the form of text HTML because the content type is different, right? So here you can see text HTML, they are getting the response, right? So this is the home page of the Jetpack store. Now let me create the another request, right, in the backend. In the Visa is creating, right? So what the Visa is doing, he click on the fish item. He click on the fish item, right? So when he click on the fish item, in the backend side, it's calling to this particular call. Here you can see, go to the header, and this is the call for that. So I will copy this URL. In the backend team member will not follow this, this particular application. They have the separate requirement, guys. So to map the things, that's why I'm taking the help of front end. Okay, so they will use this like that. So here you can see they are trying to.
We are doing reverse engineering now. We are doing reverse engineering.
Yeah. So here you can see, get the data using the query param, right? They are using the view category and category ID. So Mahesh click on the fish, and in the backend you can see the view category is blank, and the another category ID, another key is category ID is fish. Here, this is the request. Now this request get the data using the query param, right? Using the query param, you can see if I type here docs, right? So when he click on doc, so it will call this particular API. Let me click on docs, and you can see the data. Here you can see this data you will get. And same thing in the front end side, when the Mahesh will click on doc, he will get the response. You can see it here, dogs, category ID is dogs, right? And if go to the response, here you can see the response. Same response you can see in the backend also, right? So in the backend we are doing in some another stuff, but to explain the things, I have taken the help of this particular application, Jetpack store. Okay, sir. So like that, they are mapping the things actually. So let's suppose they are using the REST API. So here you will get the response in the form of, in the backend you will get in the JSON format, right? Clear, sir? How the front end and the back end are related. Why I'm asking that? Let's suppose if anything is not working here, let's suppose I pass doc something invalid, right, and call, you will get the something like it's supporting or not that particular one. Give me a second. I think this particular application not implemented this particular feature. So something like you pass the invalid category ID and you are getting the error message. So you will also get that thing here. You will also get that thing, the error message. Okay, so that's why if anything is working in the backend side, that should also work in the front end side. If anything is breaking in the backend, that would also break in the front end. Sir, did you get your answer or not?
Yes, sir.
Clear? So that's why nowadays the most of the company, they are very much interested to do the backend testing. The backend testing is very easy. Simply you have to map the things and call. All the data related, you can check the all the data related concept, you can check it here. You don't have to use the UI. Okay, it should also work in the UI as well. Okay, now let me delete this folder. Okay, so we have used the query param, right? Now I have saved this particular request as well. Okay. Now the another requirement is Naveen, I have messaged you. Please check the message here and please respond. Okay.
Sure, Vikas.
Now the another requirement is, let's try to understand the patch method. Patch method, right? Patch method, how you can implement the patch method. So first thing what you have to do, go to create the request, select the patch method, right? After then, what is the URL here? You can see this is the resource, right? Here you can see it is curly bracket, so that means it is the dynamic, right?
Dynamic
Which you
data.
have to
Yes.
get from the previous response, right? So let me copy this thing, this resource, and let me pass it here, right? Now here you have to pass the host URL, right? So you will copy the host URL and we'll go here and pass it here. So your URL is done, right? Now, okay, ID you have to pass. Let's suppose you want to update the ID. You are going to the bank and you are asking to the bank employer that you want to update your account. So you have to give the particular, the identification, right? So that the bank employee will open your account and update the detail. Same thing here. We have to ask to the server. This is the unique thing which you have to find and update, right? So here you can see this ID is unique for everyone, right? So I can use this thing here. And in your mind you have one question that, let's suppose, sir, let's suppose email ID is unique. Email ID is unique. Can I use this email ID in this scenario? Let's suppose email ID and date of birth and the ID is unique, right? Three things are unique, right? And I have, it is working for the ID. If I add 7, then user can able to update. If I add email ID or date of birth, it is not working. Then you have the question that you will ask me, sir, you have tell me if you use the any unique ID here in the patch call or get by ID, right? So you can update the data or you can fetch the data, but this thing is not working, right? So make this clear this confusion, because the ID is mentioned in your requirement and developer has implemented the same. That's why even other property are unique or not doesn't matter, right? If they have maintained that using the ID you can update the data, you can get the data and you can delete the data, so it should only work for the ID, no matter the other property is primary key or secondary key. If in the requirement if they mention that using the email ID, instead of that, let's suppose here, instead of that if they have mentioned the email ID, right? In that case you can use the email ID to do the CRUD operation. If it is mentioned only ID, then you can use only ID. Doesn't matter the other things are primary or secondary. Clear, guys? Because these things, this confusion will comes in the real time. That's why I'm
But
explaining you.
so this is basically the schema, right? The schema decided by the developer and them, right? Because
Yeah.
it helps them for their
Basically
performance and all.
what happened when the developer get the requirement in the database they create the schema, they defined the schema, okay, and they defined the simple like that. Simple, the schema is nothing where they defined the key and the that particular key data type, that is the schema. In the database they will define. So when it connect with the server, let's suppose what happened in the backend side. Let's suppose in the first name you have typed the string value, right? And when I click on send, it will go and connect with that particular host server and connect with this particular resource. Inside that resource, they have defined one schema inside one particular folder, the developer, right? And it will go inside that particular schema and they will check that particular key. They will check that particular key, and if that key is defined as a string value, then they will proceed further. Similarly, it will check for other, right? Let's suppose in the schema they defined as an integer, and here you are passing the string value, then it will return the error message, something in the real time. The schema is not defined in the in the database, something like you will get the error message, schema is not defined. Clear, sir?
Yeah. So in my project or in my company, the requirement, after getting the requirement, high level requirement, the development lead or the lead of the developer, he is the one who decides the schema. He is the one who decides which is primary key, which is a unique key, which
Yeah,
can be read based
generally,
on
yeah,
relation
if they
database.
have the knowledge of, if they have the knowledge of the project, right, they know the project, right, so they can decide. And generally these things are, the discussion, the teamwork. Without that, even team lead can can't decide, they are also discussing with the client, right?
Yes.
They'll make the loop to the client, right? So this thing we are using, the client will share the the team lead or the developer, the client with the BA person. Even let's suppose you are working in the project, right? Which key and the values you have to use, even the team lead, your manager will not decide this thing, will
Development
not
lead
decide.
architect,
So
development lead after architecture review, he decides in our project. He
yeah,
is the one
but
who
at
decides
least
with
they
the.
have to refer the requirement.
Yeah, yeah.
Based on the requirement, they define the thing, that which things we have to consider as a primary, which could be the better, right? And how to
Performance.
create the schema, that architect level is defined. But at least they have to read the requirement. First, they have to understand the requirement. After that, you can design something, right? You can take the decision. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's come to the patch method. Yeah. So in the patch method, yeah, here they are using the ID, right? So I have passed the ID. Now, in the requirement, the content type is application JSON, right? So you will go here, the content type, uh, content, content type, and here you can pass it here like that, right? Content type, right? Now this thing is done. Now you can read the requirement, right? So in the requirement, they have mentioned that in the patch method, these all are the things you can update, which we have already discussed in the create method, right? You can pass the first name also, and you can update last name also, prefix also. So whatever the things you have, it mentioned in the create, right? So you can see it here, it mentioned all the things here, so you can update your data. Okay, let's suppose I'm creating the body, because we are using the patch method, you have to pass the body, right? Select the JSON, guys. One important thing I have to discuss with you at the end of the class. Okay, so at the end of the class, not now. Okay. And yeah, here let's suppose you want to update, I have created the JSON object. Let's suppose you want to update the first name. Okay, I will copy the first name and pass it here, right? And giving the name as let's suppose what is the 7 ID name? Rahul test. Okay, so let me change the name as something like Rahul updated. Okay, I change the name. Similarly, you can, if you want to update all the keys and the values, right? So in the requirement, guys, they will define you which things you can update. Not all the thing. They will define the thing which thing you can update, right? So guys, you can please mute. I'm asking you one basic question to you. I'm asking you one basic question. Uh, something. If you create the account, when you create the account, at the account creation, right? You can change the value. At that time, you have to decide, right? After creating the account, right? You can't change that value, right? So in the patch method, if anything, let's suppose in the requirement they have mentioned like after creating the account, you can't change your email ID. You can't change your email ID. In that case, that email ID you can't update. It should be written in your requirement that what are the things you can update, what are the things you can't update, you cannot update, right? So this thing will clarify in the requirement, right? So let's suppose here first name we can update, last name we can update. So I'm passing that thing here. I'm passing last name update. Okay, this two property I want to update, right? So guys, please watch carefully because I will in this class I will explain you difference between put and patch, and which is very important in the real time and which is very important as interview perspective. Related to the method, related to this method, they will ask you like almost 3 to 4 questions related to this method: get, post, put, and patch and delete. Okay. So you can also pass all the property here, right? And let me try to connect. Here you can see, oh, it's not get updated. 7 I have used. Give me a second. Jason, we have passed. What is the ID here? Let me check here.
ID 7 only.
7 now. So if I'm using 7 here, first name, and Rahul, strange. Let me again call. Let me call the get by ID and let me check it here. We are doing wrong here. Let me check it here. First, let me check it here. Localhost employee /7 and first name. Okay, let me again create the employee and giving some another name. Let's suppose Mayank Singh. Okay, Mayank Singh, and let me change the email ID here also. Mayank. Okay, let me try to connect with the server. Okay, this data we have get it. If you and ID is 8. ID is 8, right? So in the patch method, you are using that ID, right? And let's suppose here I am trying to update. Here I'm trying to update. Let me copy this two name. Okay, and let me add it here. Me add it here, and okay, let me add here update, and let me append the value update here. Okay, so you have updated right now. Let me update this particular thing. Why body updated? Give me a second. So copy the whole body and paste it here, and pass it here, update, and here also update. Okay, let me send. Let me check my server is working or not. Implies. Give me a second. Let me stop the server and let me again start my server. Okay, so I have started my server. Let me close all the things. Let me call this, let's suppose Visa, and let me check. Everything is done. Okay, give me a second. Let me. Okay, give me a second. Let me go to the DV and check. See users admin and dv.json file. Array is created. 7 is also, 8 is also there. Mayank also get created. Then why it is not working here? Uh, Let me create. Visa is get created, right? Let me create one patch method, and let me use the fresh data. What is the ID? 9/9. Go here and use the content type as application JSON. You go to the body, select the raw, and copy the value, paste it here. Let me remove this ID. Okay, so let's try to, oh, 2 times get copied. Let me remove this thing. Now let me change it as a visa 1 2 3 and sing 1 2 3. Okay, so patch method is done, 9 is done. Now let me call. Yeah, you can see it get
Oh,
updated,
yes, yes.
right? So you
Yeah.
can see it get updated. Let's suppose you want, like, you don't want all the property, right? And you want to update it like that, right? So let me add here, like update here. Okay, and let me add update here, and let me call. You can see, right?
Now updated. Yeah.
Yeah, when you use the 9, when you verify that thing in the using the get ID 9 and use the get method, here you can see it get
Updated.
updated.
Also, yeah.
Okay, so like that you can update the single property or multiple property. So this thing will comes with the requirement. In the requirement, if they have mentioned, they will mention what are the, the keys and the value you can update, right? So that particular things you can update. If you are, let's suppose if you are trying to update some other thing like email ID, right? So which is not given in the requirement, that you can't update the email ID, and you are trying to do that, then you will get the error message that you can't update the email ID. Okay, let's try to understand this thing with the patch method. Let me copy this thing. Uh, uh, update the update data using patch. Okay, let me select the right. So it get created. Let me delete this one. Delete. Right now. Now, what is the put here? The put requirement. You selected the put. Guys, please watch carefully. So you selected the put. In the put requirement, you have to use the ID here, the employee ID here, and same here you have to pass the body raw and selecting the JSON, and here what you are doing here, creating the JSON object, and here you are trying to update the value. So the put method is generally what it's doing, it's not updating the things, it replacing the thing. The old data will get replaced with the new data, okay. Let's try to understand this thing. Okay, so we have the ID 9, that is Vijay update, right? What, and we can see it here in the get call, you will see different keys and the value, address, nationalities, all the things are there. Okay, so here what I am doing here, in the case of put, right, I'm passing the visa update, and let's suppose email ID, right? And let me change the email ID visa, okay? And let me use one more thing, the date of birth, okay? Give me a second, guys. So here you can see, if I call, you can see it here. Now you can see there is only 3 data. Where is the other data? If you call the get method, you can see there is only 3. Where the other gone? Now tell me what you have noticed here.
Will add new information, it will take that one. That means it will remove the old one and it will add a new one. It will patch updates, only it updates. For example, Vijay update or Vijay 123 means it will take. That's the thing.
So in the case of put, it replacing the old data with the new data. So whatever the data you will pass it here, right? Whatever the data keys and the value you will pass it here, it will replace the old data, right? Replace the old data. Now you have the question that mm, if you want to, using the put method, you want to retain the old data and you want to add the additional property, then how you can do that? Any answer? You want to retain the old data also and you want to add the new values also. How you can?
Patch is the thing.
Yeah, patch is the thing that I know, but using the put you have to perform. Okay, let me explain you. So let's suppose you want to retain the old data and add the additional thing, right? So what I can do, you have to pass all the data. You can pass all the data. You can pass all the existing data, and whatever the new property is there, you can add. Let's suppose the PAN number. You want to add the PAN number, right? So like that you can add the PAN number, and when you update, let's see. Now you can, I'm doing the same thing, right? But what happened, I'm also using the old data, passing all the old data with the new, so that all that old data is already there, right? And new data, so it will replace the old one, and it will show the new data. Correct? Can we do that like that? Correct? Okay, so this is the basic difference between put and patch. Now the put method is not used in the every project. Let's suppose you assign in one project and you are trying to call the put method, right? So in every project they are not using the put method. In some of the project they will use both the call put and patch. In some of the project, depends on the requirement, they can only use the patch method. In some of the project they can use the put method. Depends to project it is used actually. Okay, let's suppose they don't want to unnecessary, because if you implement any method, right, it will consume time, it will take resource, and using the patch method you can achieve your scenario, then why it need to implement the put method? So they will not implement the put method. Clear? Clear, sir?
Yeah.
Right? So why I'm explaining you this thing, because this thing is the common thing which will do the mistake in the real time if you are new. Right? Now we have the delete method. Here you can see delete the data, same. So in the case of delete, what you have to do, you have to go and let me put the name here, replace the data. Okay, replace the data, and where I want to save in this particular, right, replace the data. Okay, now create the new request, and here you can select the delete method, and here you have to pass as per the requirement. Here you have to pass the URL, right? So which URL you have to use? This one, right? This is your post one, right? And here you have used, right? Now here you want to again delete the data. Delete the data. Here you have to pass the unique ID, right? And the content type, and content type as application and JSON. Oh, application and the JSON. So this MIME type you have to write it here, and then you can call. You can see the data is get deleted, and you are getting the 200 blank response, right? 200 blank response. And when you check the same data here in the get call, you can see 404 not found, because that data is deleted. Clear? Clear, guys? So this requirement, related to this requirement, if you have any question, then let me know. Any question? Any question, guys, related to this particular requirement? No? So in now we can discuss one more requirement, the GitHub one. Here you can type GitHub Developer API. GitHub Developer API. Go to the particular link, and here you will see the option repo, and then here repository. Okay. Let me click on the repository. Yeah. So here I will explain you how if you are creating any data in the back end, it will also get created in the front end, where I will map both the things, front end and the back end. Okay, so this is the GitHub API, GitHub requirement. These all are the resource, guys. You can take it anyone. You have the multiple reference to do the practice, right? Let me provide you this URL so that you can do the practice. Right, so that you can do the practice. I have provided the URL, right? So here you can, and before that, guys, please create the GitHub account. GitHub account, go to the GitHub, right? And if I log out from the GitHub, here you have to, this is the GitHub. We can discuss the GitHub requirement, the GitHub REST API, right? So I'm providing the URL to you. Give me a second. Here, right? So I have provided you the GitHub. Here you can go and sign up. Everyone, please take it as a homework. So you can go and sign up to your GitHub account. Sign up to your GitHub account. Please try to sign up your GitHub account. In my case, I have entered your email ID here, right? Whatever the email ID, continue. You want to, because this thing we will also use in the CI/CD pipeline, the GitHub account. Okay, so right now for the practice purpose, please sign up this account. When you sign up, go and sign in. You will get the GitHub page like that. You will get the GitHub page like that. So this is the GitHub requirement basically, which we have to discuss. Now, guys, as part of this requirement, I will not explain you how you can map. You guys will explain me how I can do the thing. Okay, this is the requirement in the real time. It will looks like. Okay, so this is created by the GitHub company, Okay, so now, guys, tell me, I'm going to my collection and creating one here, folder here, add folder, and let me clear all the things first. Do not save, do not save, do not save. Okay, add a request and give the request collection name, folder name, edit, and give the folder name as a GitHub repo. Okay, now, guys, let me, you guys will help me to map this requirement. Please read this requirement and help me how I can map. Yeah, go ahead, guys. So you assigned one inside one project, and I'm your client. I'm giving you this requirement sheet to you. You have to map this particular sheet in your tool, whatever the tool you are using, Postman, JMeter, SOAP UI, whatever the API testing tool you are using, you have to map this particular requirement. Now tell me how I can map, what I have to do. Yes, guys, please tell me how I can map this thing.
Take the base URL, http
Okay.
doc.github.com.
So first we have to identify, you read this thing, right? So first we have to understand what exactly this particular, will do, this particular method. List the repository for the specified organization. So it will, give you the list of all the repository which is created inside the organization, right? So first you have to, what you have to do, you have create an organization inside the GitHub account, right? So you can see what it indicate, list the repository for the specified organization, right? And this thing you have to do as a pre-setup, right? Now after that, here you can see it is asking your get method. So you are going here and selecting the get method, right? After that, it's showing the resource here, right? You can see it here, what I have told you about the curly bracket,
Those are
right?
dynamic and we need to change.
Right, the dynamic. So I can copy this resource here, right, and will pass it here. I will go and pass it here. Now where is your host URL? So if it is not provided in the requirement, you have to take it from the client or developer or the concerned person, right? So in this particular requirement, they have somewhere mentioned here, you can see, right? This is the host URL in the sample code they have mentioned. Okay, so you can copy this host URL and will go here and paste it here. Clear? Right? Now tell me the one thing. What did you mean by this org? ORG, the curly bracket one.
We need to mention a specified organization for that, like any particular number or that.
Exactly. We have to, you have to specify the organization. That's why, you can change the organization name. Here you can see in the parameter they have added organization org, and it is the string value, and in the path you have to path means in the URL, and they have not added the description, but this org means whenever you are creating an GitHub account, you have the organization. Here you can see this is the default organization Sa Vikas, and this organization is created by me, API test org. So you can go here by your click on your name and you can create the organization. Go and create the organization. Here you will see you have to take the to create an organization, you need to purchase the license, team or enterprise. So we can use the the free one. Okay, so we can use create an open organization, and here you can pass